Memphis for me is interesting enough. There's an article here about Memphis. Where's it one? Where this came out in April, and actually Memphis is the best performing yield market in the whole of America. So this came out by the Wall Street Journal in April. It's in your magazine, in your USB. And Memphis was literally, so it found that Memphis was the most profitable place to rent out single family homes in the whole of America with a net return of over 10%. Now, we've been going to Memphis since April last year, Brenda and I. And when we originally went, we were very attracted by the returns because it was net returns of even 20% plus. But I'll be honest with you, in terms of the properties, they classed them in Memphis an A, a B, a C, a D, and an E. And what we originally saw were D's and E's. And it just, they talk about curb appeal in America, which is when you drive up, does it look nice from the curb? It's fairly self-explanatory. Now, Memphis, the properties aren't as curb appeal and aren't as nice looking necessarily as, say, Atlanta, but the yield is very attractive. The D's and E's, though, for us were too far down the scale, because our investors and with our own money, if I want to make a really stark, high-yielding investment, I can go and invest in the CBD of Johannesburg. Am I right or wrong? Yeah. Okay. So if I want to take that type of risk, let me do it in Joburg, where I can at least try and manage the risk, etc., etc. I don't want to be doing that equivalent of investment in a foreign market. So what we got excited about in October last year, I'm not sure if anyone, you with us in October, no. Sorry, Dustin, you were with us in October. So if Dustin will attest to this. As we pulled out from the airport, I pulled over and I was like, look, guys, I'm just warning you, what we're about to see doesn't necessarily look that great, but we're going to meet a new management company. And we all walked in that day and we were overwhelmed by how professional the company was, their whole operation, what they're doing in terms of marathon management and Hewlett and the team that they're there. And we've now grown that relationship with what they're doing, and they've got a full turnkey there where they're finding the houses, they're renovating the house, and they're doing the full management. It's one of the things we've learned in property, and I'd highly recommend taking this lesson, is that you want to deal with someone that has everything under one roof, because they have the responsibility. If they tell you they're going to rent it for $1,000 when they sell it to you, then it's their responsibility to make sure they get you $1,000 when they actually manage it. Does that make sense? It's when you lend it out to your estate agent friend that you've got the problem in terms of where it's at. So that's really for us, Memphis. The yields in Memphis are very attractive, and just to show you in terms of just some opportunities. As I said to you, this here, now this is pre-renovation, I am warning you, so it doesn't come with the grass in the roof. But these properties are all bank repossessed properties. So our Class A's generally are from a price point of about $90,000 through to about $120,000. Class B's are from about $70,000 through to about $90,000. And the Class C's are from about, say, $55,000 through to about $70,000. And we only target those three, so A, B, and C. In Memphis, you can get 50% financing, which is really attractive because it can make your money go further. And the yields tend to be the net yields between 9 and, say, about 12%. I'd say in terms of what you've got.
Obviously slide down accordingly. If you're buying really nice, expensive ones in the A-class properties, you're going to get like 8%, 9% yields thereabouts. But if you're buying B class, you're going to get 9, 10%. If you buy C class, you're going to get 10, 12%. So in terms of the different areas and the different classes of properties.
I think Marathon, the thing that really impresses us with Marathon, they've got over 1,300 properties under management, about 400 international investors already. They've got an online portal system, so you've got complete transparency in terms of what's happening with your property and knowing exactly in terms of the investment. And the thing that I like from a financing perspective, which Dustin and I found out back in October last year, is that the financing comes from private money from Wall Street. It's only offered to 4 companies in the whole of America. And they don't lend the money based on you and how much money you earn in South Africa. They lend it on the property in Memphis and the fact that Marathon can collect the rent. So the loan to value is actually based on 44 months rent, which for me as an income investor is incredibly valuable because it shows me the fact that they've done their due diligence and they're prepared to lend money against that property and that company. It's not really important who I am. That for me is really, really
But this is very powerful because a lot of times when people, one of the ceilings they hit in South Africa to invest more is affordability. You've got to show the banks what they want to see in order to get more home loans. In the States, with Memphis in particular is it's not about what you earn. It's about do you have the deposit, and if you do, it's what the income can be produced out of the property. That's what they're going to loan against, which means you can grow the portfolio organically quite aggressively.
Yeah, they look at the business behind it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Typically then, on those categories A, B and C, what would be your loan to value to wash clean on the rentals?
Most people are borrowing at a 50% loan to value, and you're clearing it by a couple of $100. So you could actually, you can't borrow higher than 50. If you could, I reckon you could go up to probably 70, 75% and have clear cash flow.
What makes Memphis special?
Elvis.
Praise long God. Yeah, why?
It's a fantastic question. It's a fantastic question. And to be honest,
I'll
please
take the rand.
pick a dollar or a rand, because that's a great question.
I want a bigger note. Spend it today.
No, it's a very good question. And a lot of people, Memphis isn't on the radar. Memphis is a distribution center. So it's got the biggest river in America, the Mississippi. It's got all the major railway lines that go north, south, east, west, actually go through Memphis. It's got all the major roads, the highways in America also go through Memphis. There's more trucking head offices based in Memphis than anywhere else in America. And it's also got one of the biggest airports. It's a word that Eric used called an aerolopolis. I've never heard of it before. But it basically is an airport that's for distribution. And so FedEx is there. Do you know that FedEx Airport is bigger than the whole of Cape Town Airport, Cape Town International Airport? Okay, there's like 30,000 staff, etc. So to answer your question, the capital growth in Memphis has been, on average, for the last 30 years, 4%. It's not really, it's more of a rental market. You're dealing with blue-collar people. Nike has their distribution center worldwide. Any Nike products that are made worldwide go to Memphis and then a distribution. Disney has exactly the same thing. So it's very big, solid anchor tenants, FedEx obviously, etc. They bring everything in and then it gets distributed out. And those are your tenants, basically.
The crime's a bit on the high side in Memphis, I understand.
You've got to be careful in the wrong suburbs. You're spot on. So for us, our partners, Marathon, don't actually invest in 60% of Memphis. And again, can you agree that it's worth investing with a guy like Hewlett that personally owns about 110 properties himself? His business was born out of necessity because he is an investor himself. So to answer your question, Hewlett's the guy that owns Marathon. Okay. His passive income, can you remember the number, Tony? It was like $65,000 US, I think, a month, just out of his properties. Yeah.
So what is the history in terms of rate escalations, etc., on properties in the States?
Rate escalations being capital growth, talking about?
Your council, your services.
Oh, in terms of services and stuff. It's a good question. I couldn't. I don't want to give you a guaranteed answer, but from my experience in both London, Australia, and in America. Remember, I've only been investing in America for the last year personally. So, but even in London, where I've been investing, I bought my first house in London in 2002. Your rates tend to be very marginal in terms of sticking with inflation, and in a low inflation environment, they haven't gone up. It's not like here where it jumps 20%.
But you signed a 3-year lease.
Yep.
With nothing, and you got in a 2%, whatever it is, annual escalation on services costs.
Yeah, look, in terms of it's a valid point. I don't know, Brendan, from your perspective, if it's so marginal that it doesn't actually affect your rental return.
It doesn't affect your rental return. If it goes from let's call it $1,600 a year to $1,700 a year, it's an extra $100 in terms of your total net yield of, let's call it $9,000. It really makes no impact on it, whatsoever.
But what they do, which I think is very important, is what they do is they actually fight the rates on your behalf.
Yeah.
So,
in Atlanta specifically.
In Atlanta specifically, they're constantly fighting on your behalf to make sure the rates are relevant.
Because what might have happened is if the property was last sold in like 2006, 2007 at $200,000 or $300,000, then the rate is measured against that valuation. Whereas if you're buying it now at $120,000 or $100,000, they go and get it reevaluated to lower your tax value.
I think one thing. Let's leave up the point to do with the lenders and Marathon. Are we saying that the lenders will lend up to 50% of the value of the property because Marathon is such a good quality manager and collector of rents and whatever.
Correct. And they've scoured America, and there's only 4 companies in the whole of America that they lend with, and they're in terms of management companies, because it's the management collecting the rent. Does that make sense? I wanted to point out something that Tony mentioned, and he's not here to defend himself, so you'll have to watch the testimonial. But he mentioned on the testimonial, everything that we learn, because a lot of the questions you're asking are very valid. But I believe that when we live in a cowboy country, you have to act like a cowboy. And here, we're on the battlefield, and we're constantly trying to protect ourselves, and how do we do this, and protect this downside, and sort this out, and et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that stuff doesn't happen in first world countries. And the testimonial that Tony gave, and I'm not sure if anyone else feels like that's been with me to America, what happens on the ground there, and we come from this, Tony, you're back in the room, I'm talking about you. But no, I mean, just, for me, what we learn here in terms of our, call it bush warfare, if you want, to make sure that we, our rates going up and stuff, it's a very valid question. There it's not a concern, there's not just some guy decides to put up rates 20% and you now suddenly impacted dramatically, so.
How do you go about finding your management accounts in your different areas?
Very good question. Having done this for 10 years and helped over 2,000 people invest, a lot of it comes from experience, being able to go in and ask the right questions. I will quote Brendan, when we left Memphis in April last year, he said, "Why are you being so negative?" Those were his exact words. And so to answer your question, we didn't go there looking for opportunity. We actually went there, like I said, Peter, with trying to punch holes in terms of, do these guys, how big is their portfolio? Because, Joe Soap that's managing 20 properties for his cousin, I'm a big believer, and if there's any management agents in the room, I apologize. Finding, a good management agent is an oxymoron. Finding an internationally good management agent is virtually like impossible. Okay, so to answer on that basis, we then go on networks. So people that we've worked with, etc., etc. So like a guy like John Chin now, and I'm about to show you an opportunity in a new city. I haven't even been to that city, but I've got a huge respect for John Chin and his ability to go and to ask the right questions and to make sure. And we all understand that the management is 80% of buying the property, and buying the property is 20%. And I think that is critically important, in terms of the different areas.
To put that in perspective, I mean, we didn't choose these areas just by, out of a hat. We looked at a whole bunch of areas, about 14 or 15, I think, in the last year, from San Diego, Miami, Chicago, Boston,
Phoenix,
Vegas. I mean, we've been everywhere, and we've met a hell of a lot of people, and they just get scrapped. We're like, no, I can't deal with those guys. No, they're the wrong type of people. No, we don't trust those people. No, I mean, it's been a hell of a thing to go through for us to try and figure out who the hell do we deal with. And then at the same time, a lot of times, we've invested ourselves. So it's not like I'm saying, buy this wonderful house in Atlanta, because I'm not there. I'm also in Atlanta with my own personal money because of the quality of the partners. I'm also in Orlando. And I would buy in Memphis if we didn't have a waiting list, so the clients kind of come first at the moment. But I'd be active in that market too. The problem is we can't get enough B-class properties. I particularly want a B-class property. I think it's right there in the middle because of the quality of the management. I mean, if anybody's met Hewlett and Eric over there, they are phenomenal at what they do. So at the moment, because of that, to get finance over there, it's incredible. So we've drilled it down to these 3 areas, and we're unlocking one more. But it's because of the management that we're prepared to do.
But I think also, sorry, just quickly, it's also a case of being dynamic. Okay, so in Orlando, as an example, we had a management agent that we met in April last year. The guy told us all the right stories. I was blown away, thought, right, this guy's perfect. He ticks all the boxes. And then his communication was horrendous. He showed us all the online thing and everything else. I know that student Bev, we had a concern with Ida. In terms of, so we've actually upskilled internally on our side so that we can make sure that things like that are sorted, we can stay on top of people, because, nothing happens in property just randomly. It doesn't work like that, So when we learn and we find out there's mistakes, we make sure that we can do it. And then if a partner like in Orlando, Atlanta, we've had a conversation with them, and hopefully there's no problem there. But in Orlando, as an example, we scrapped the guys and we moved, everyone, to a new management agent because we weren't happy with the quality. So it is a dynamic thing as well, in terms of what's happening.
I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
What is your criteria if you're looking at Memphis, all these different areas. What is the first 3 criteria, whatever it is, that has to be met before you go into more depth?
Perfect. Great question. I hope everyone's got time till 12 o'clock. No, it's a fantastic question. First question is partners. Because, like Brendan said, the first time we did it, we did 8 cities in 11 days. If you think I'm joking, and I ask anyone that's been on a trip with me, they know it's pretty hectic anyway. We were literally flying into a city at night. We were getting to our hotel at about 11:30 at night. We were waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning, catching a taxi to our partner, being shown around for the day, getting our partner, because we literally took our luggage with us, to drop us at the airport at about 5, 6 o'clock to fly to the next city. And we did that for 8 cities in a row. So that was in April last year. And so I'm just giving you the background of how, we had one day to make these tough decisions. The first thing came with partners. What is your experience? What is your track record? Do you do international property? Do you know, because it's very different dealing with an investor who's local versus dealing with someone who's international. Secondly, what is the full solution? Do you have a management and maintenance? You know, it's not just, I've said this so many times, it's not just about buying the property. Who's going to manage the property, etc., etc. So we wanted to meet the whole team. You can see, for me, I often say we invest in people first, then property. The second thing for me was the income. So, right, the management company ticks the box. Is there a rental demand? Like, you know, it's all good and well. I looked at property. I went to America in 2010 for 5 weeks with my wife. We went to met 5 different companies. I went to all the different major states that I personally want to invest in. I didn't invest 1 cent. I came home. Reason being, I couldn't find someone on the ground I could trust. And secondly, we didn't believe that we could collect the income. And I believe personally, if you can't collect the income, you're wasting your time. Okay, so that's my second criteria. The third one is the fundamentals. What is driving this market? What makes this market different from another market? And, you know, so let me just, I don't know, is this valuable, everyone else? Yeah. Is this valuable? Okay, cool. So do you mind if I just extrapolate on that a little bit? Okay, so Brendan and I went doesn't matter who we went with. You know, we went to Phoenix and Vegas and to go and look at it, because in South Africa we were told it was a fantastic opportunity. We spent 80,000 Rand going on this trip. That wasn't even that we still had to pay for our flights and accommodation and everything. It was a celebrity and he was recommending it. When we went there, the first box that wasn't ticked was we were like, can we meet the partners? Like, who will do the management? No, we got partners. Okay, awesome, can we meet them? No, we got them. Okay, cool, can we meet them? In a week, we didn't meet a single person. So I'm going to be sitting in Johannesburg, whether it's my property or your property, you're still going to be phoning me going, what the flip's going on? I'm like, shit, I don't know, I never met the guy. Okay, so for me, that didn't tick the box. Then secondly, in terms of what I said, in terms of the rentability, you know, we were looking at stuff in Vegas. I don't know if you know, but Vegas, it's the highest unemployment in the whole of America. Okay, there, the 65% of the whole economy of Vegas is based on tourism. There used to be about 50 million people go through the airport in Vegas, but in the good times. It dropped down to 20 million at the base. It's now recovered to about 30 million. So it's still sitting at 60% of where it was. Okay, now my tenant...
when we were there, I checked the news broadcast, because they broadcast local news in the hotel rooms. And one of the things was that MGM Grand was losing $100 million a month in October last year, when we were there. And that's only one of the hotels.
So you know, my tenant would be fluctuating in and out and whatever, you know, and then for me, just in terms of the fundamentals, like when I was in Phoenix, we're looking at properties that were $150,000 for 1,000 square feet, when I can buy something that was October last year, for $100,000 in Atlanta that was 2,000 square feet with double the rent. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. Do you see? So does that answer your question? That's how we've analyzed all these different markets in terms of where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very conscious of time. I'm not going anywhere. Neither is Brendan. Neither is Jacob.